So we've touched on this in a lot of different areas so far, but switching now to the more proactive approach, because what's going to happen with these fires now too is a lot of people who got evacuated from different areas are going to come back and realize, oh, thank God my cottage or home didn't burn down, but then they're going to start hearing the stories of people who might have been underinsured or not had things go well, and they're going to be really coming now to the brokers and being like, am I okay here? Like, am I insured properly? So switching to that lens, like, what should people be thinking about when they want to make sure that their insurance is going to cover them in the event of like a total loss, like a fire?
So there's already been a large number of clients that as soon as the fire started, our phone was ringing off the hook. What am I insured for? Am I covered for fire? You know, is my dock covered? Is my boathouse covered? And sometimes it's like, I didn't know you had a boathouse.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that your limits are fine. You want to make sure that your broker knows what you have, and that you're insuring to the right value. You just put in docks for 300 grand. Well, probably your detached structure limit on your property, on your policy, is too low. So we need to adjust that. You built a new boathouse, you built a guest house, a bunkhouse at your seasonal. We may not know that because you don't need to tell us that, or you need to tell us that, but you may not think to tell us that.
Yeah.
So we've already had a number of clients say, oh, my cottage is valued too low. My boathouse isn't covered on the policy. Do I have enough coverage for this? Do I have enough coverage for that? Unfortunately, when these fires hit, insurance companies freeze changes on policies, so we can't change it. If there's a fire coming, we can't change it if it's within, every company's different, 25 kilometers, 50 kilometers, 75 kilometers of your structure. So we can't change it now, but we can change it once the restrictions are lifted. Another thing that I think is most important is clear shrubbery, trees away from your property. There was a photo, and I think it was in Lac du Bonny, where the fire just completely diverted around a property because there was a good 50 feet from the structure of no trees, no bush. If the fire has nothing to latch onto, it could miss your property altogether. Yeah, it may not look how you want it to look, but if you can avoid a total loss like that, I would rather have a little less trees, a little less shrubs, and still have my cottage than not have it. There's one particular company we deal with that looks at that. How close are you to the tree line? How close are you to rivers and water and things like that? But they rate based on how close you are to trees, and is that area prevalent to wildfires? So that's another thing to think of. How safe is your surroundings? How easily could a fire hit your property? So you gotta be a problem solver.
That'd be a tough one for a lot of people, I think, because like even when we're doing new cottages and stuff, it's all about saving the trees.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
Do we absolutely have to cut this tree down, or can we save this tree? Like, you got these 100-year-old pines or whatever that people just do not want to lose, right? Which is understandable.
I get it, but when you look at it, it makes sense to say, okay, the fire's coming along, it's just going to follow the line of trees and hit my seasonal. But I mean, that's something you got to balance out, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there specific, we've talked about a couple of them already, but like inclusions or things on policies such as the bylaw code upgrade thing, like is there any other things like that that people should make sure that they have on their policies?
So every policy is going to be different, so I'm going to speak broad. There's special limits of insurance on all policies. So what that means is all your belongings are covered, but there may be special limits to it. So for jewelry, say for example, you may have a maximum of $5,000 in jewelry coverage. And you may actually have $50,000 in jewelry. So if you have a loss, they're only going to pay $5,000 for jewelry. How you get around that is you schedule some of the items. If you have some bigger items, say $20,000 engagement ring, you can schedule that on your policy so it's not part of that $5,000 limit. You also don't have a deductible then on that piece of
Okay.
property. Other things like garden tractors, collectibles, cash even has a limit of coverage. Usually cash is around $500 to $1,000. So if you're sitting on a bunch of cash in your mattress, they're only gonna pay out a certain amount.
Yeah.
Bicycles, boats. Some people think boats are automatically covered in your policy. They are to a certain limit, and it's usually a couple thousand. It's not much.
Is there like kind of like a dollar figure number that you suggest that people, if it's over this amount of money, maybe have it as like a scheduled item on your insurance?
Yeah, it's going to depend what it is. I mean, collectibles, paintings, things like that, they'll be automatically included in most policies in your property, but they're not going to be dealt with on what can you get for it in the open market. It's going to be what did you pay for it? What does it sell for? So if you had a fancy painting that you could sell for $1 million, but you paid 50 grand for it or 10 grand for it, they're not going to pay you $1 million for it, even though you could have sold it on the market for that. They're just going to pay what the reasonable going rate is for it.
Unless if you have it as
Unless
a scheduled
you have it
item?
scheduled. If you have it scheduled, then it's predetermined.
Okay.
So if you had that painting and you scheduled it on your policy and it burns and you had it scheduled for 50 grand, they're going to pay you the 50 grand for it.
So that's the way to get around that. If you have important things that, you really want to get the true value out of that are expensive, having those as scheduled items on your policy is the way.
The other thing to remember is not what a lot of people or a lot of new homeowners don't realize as well, or even renters, is majority of policies are replacement costs. So people will think, I don't have nice stuff, or I don't have a lot of stuff. I have a used couch, I have a used TV, and some coffee table that my parents gave me. So they're thinking my stuff is worth $500. If you are to lose that, they're not going to go down the street and find you a used couch.
Yeah.
They're going to go to whoever and buy you a brand new couch. So your stuff is worth more than you think.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get like kind in quality, but brand new.
Yeah, new replacement cost.
New replacement.
Yeah.
So everything you have is worth what it is new.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another thing that a lot of people think of. Well, it's a 20-year-old couch, so it's worthless.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you were to sell it, but in an insurance claim, they got to buy you a new couch.
Yeah. And I guess even for like the actual value of property, like a home or cottage, like it's not how much you can sell it for.
No.
It's the rebuild cost of that, which can be completely different. It might not even be relatable.
That's a good point. Often people, when we're insuring your property, they'll say, well, the guy down the street just sold his place for $1 million and I'm insured for $500,000. You see this in cottage country a lot because there's a lot more real estate value.
Yes.
Because there's only so many houses around the lake. But to rebuild it is actually less than what it would sell for.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you get, I only bought it for $200,000 and you're trying to insure it for $400,000. Well, you got a good deal on it, or it's not in an area that's in demand, so the value of it isn't high. But to rebuild it is going to cost quite a bit more. And you would know, what the costs are to rebuild.
Yeah, a lot of times the cost of where something is in the property, it has nothing to do with it. Like the materials you're using cost the same whether you're building over here or over here, right?
Right. And costs have increased substantially in the last 5-6 years, right?
Yeah, like I'd say construction costs in the last 10 to 15 years have probably doubled.
Yeah.
So it's gone up drastically. So a lot of people, I think even we talk to some of our past clients and they'll reach out to us. And this is another good note for like people trying to be proactive, is just to talk to someone who really understands build values currently, like not 5 years ago, but like right now.
Yeah.
To get like what that rebuild cost would be, because a lot of people, 10 years ago, we built for them and we end up getting on this insurance topic and they're like, well, we're covered for this. And it's like, that's not enough. Like, it's just not, right? They're nowhere near. It was good back then when you originally got your insurance, but that hasn't increased enough with time. One interesting thing you said earlier was that the replacement cost on like a structure, it's replacement, but it's potentially 125% of value. So even that
Yeah.
has a cap on
Has a cap.
how far that goes. And so I guess that's designed more like if you're pretty close but not perfect, it'll cover it, but you still need to be most of the way there. You need to make sure you're pretty close to start.
Yeah, and insurance companies know we're never going to have it insured for the exact amount, and that's
Yeah.
why that clause is there. Not everyone qualifies for that clause, especially in cottage country.
Okay.
Not all seasonals are going to qualify for guaranteed replacement cost, or not all insurance companies offer that on seasonals. So that's the thing to watch for. You can save some money by having it with a company that doesn't offer that, or you can pay a little bit more and have that coverage, and then in the event that something happens, you have more coverage available to you.
Yeah.
That's the balance of price and coverage. I mean, even myself, I buy an insurance policy for myself. I quote it out, I'm looking for the best rate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But then secondly, I'm looking, is it equal to what I'm comparing it to? Or do I want to have XYZ coverage and pay an extra $300? Is that worth it to me?
Yeah.
It's important to look at all of your options.
Yeah.
Not just say, which one's the cheapest? Okay, I'll go with that. But sometimes the cheapest one is the best one.
Yeah.
You know, they can go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to make sure the value is right. And there is a buffer with that guaranteed replacement cost, but that's only as good as what you have for your total value. If you're way underinsured, that's not going to be enough coverage to bump you up to where you need to be.
Yeah.